Hi there, today I wanted to tell you about purpose-built second suites. In other words, second suites that are built in brand new houses. Right now, I'm located in one of our projects where we're in fact putting in purpose-built second suites on two brand new semi-detached homes we're building for a total of 4 units. Purpose-built second suites are a great opportunity in Ontario due to many cities encouraging them as a result of densification mandates and potentially eliminating development charges for their construction. These are very common in many parts of Canada, but not as much in Ontario, but we think that's changing. So it's a great strategy for many sophisticated investors and homeowners who want to incorporate this strategy. In many ways, it's like creating 2 new homes instead of just one, right from the beginning. So in what situation would you be adding a purpose-built second suite? Number 1, if you were to do a small-scale infill development project where you severed your existing single-family lot to an additional lot where you can build a new house. Number 2, you may be more ambitious, have investment experience, and want to get into development where you're building a bunch of detached homes, semi-detached homes, or townhouses. Number 3, you may have purchased a new home recently from a developer and wanted to add in a second suite. Now, in this situation, even though it's not exactly a purpose-built, a lot of the rules are the same based on the building code because it is newer. In Ontario, for any brand new construction or any home that is newer than 5 years, you would have to comply with Part 9 of the Ontario Building Code. For any home greater than 5 years, you can choose to comply with Part 11 of the Building Code, which makes it a little bit easier as it would be considered a renovation. Most of the second suite conversions that we're involved in are homes that are greater than 5 years, so we're able to take advantage of the easier rules in the building code. So why are purpose-built second suites such a great strategy? Well, I've listed 6 major advantages of purpose-built second suites compared to retrofits. The first is height. Rather than most existing basements that are 6 or 7 feet in height, you're able to go a lot higher on a new building. In this case, we have 9-foot ceilings in this basement, and even though the square footage is relatively small, it feels a lot more spacious when you have that additional height. Second is cost efficiency. Because you're already doing construction on the main house, a lot of the costs for the basement second suite are just marginally more. For example, you already have trades framing the home, wiring it, installing plumbing and drains, putting up drywall. It's certainly more cost effective to have these done at the same time than having the work done separately. Third is larger windows. You have the ability to design much larger windows for the space instead of having to cut out or enlarge existing ones in a home. Windows are important for 3 reasons. These include natural lighting, natural ventilation, and of course emergency escape. Here you can see these incredibly large windows that we have for this suite. Fourth is separate entrances. You can easily design a separate entrance for your second suite at the beginning, rather than try to utilize or create a new one in an existing home. A proper separate entrance is ideal for privacy between occupants of the main unit and those of the second suite. Fifth is that you're able to easily create a complete separation between the units. Any shared floor and wall cavities between the 2 units can be designed for maximum fire and sound separation. This, of course, is incredibly important for safety as well as privacy. In this unit, we have fire and sound insulation, resilient channeling, and 2 layers of fire-rated drywall. Additionally, we'll be strapping the ceiling with an additional layer of standard drywall so that we can easily install wiring and recessed lighting without breaching the fire separation. And lastly, you're able to easily have fully separated utilities between the 2 units, which is the most important aspect. This would include having 2 separate gas meters, 2 electrical meters, and panels, as well as separate water meters. Each of these 4 units in total has its own heating and cooling equipment, as well as its own water heater. The benefits of separate utilities and systems is, of course, that occupants of each unit is responsible for the costs associated with their usage. This encourages a more responsible usage of energy and water, and of course also eliminates unnecessary paperwork with tenants or occupants, as they can all have their own accounts with the utility company. This of course all has great environmental, financial, and administrative advantages over the long term. Now you may be wondering, if purpose-built second suites are so great, why don't most developers add them in when they're building new houses? There are a few reasons why. First, it's not as widely encouraged by the Ontario government. There aren't really any incentives. In BC, every new home either needs to have a legal second suite or at least have rough-ins to be able to easily add one in later. Secondly, there are additional risks for builders as they're covering up the basement, and they can be liable if they don't do a good job. And lastly, purpose-built second suites were not necessarily much more profitable than just a single-family home, as developers have been easily able to sell single-family properties without all the additional work. So in their view, why take that additional risk? However, times are changing as it's difficult for many middle-income families to afford a new single-family house. So if they can buy these properties, they will have a mortgage helper. And of course, these are great for investors to hold for the long term to maximize their cash flow numbers. Now, there are some critical items to consider that can cause issues if you don't take them into consideration early on. Number one, remember the building code. When building new, the building code is a lot more stringent. This can add additional costs to both labor and materials. For example, natural lighting requirements are much higher in a new building compared with a retrofit. Number two, there's a lot of humidity from concrete initially, and if you don't address this with a good dehumidifying system early on, you can get mold and other problems in your wall cavities. Number three, because you're covering all your walls, be sure to do a good inspection before this takes place. That way you can identify any cracks that could be a structural concern or a source of water leakage in the future. Number four, if you're sharing a heating and cooling system, which you have the option to do, the fire safety requirements are a lot more stringent compared to a retrofit. And lastly, sometimes there can be complications with these additional units in certain cities, and you may need to close out the occupancy of your main unit before you can complete your second unit. So it's important to really know the rules for the city where you plan to build your purpose-built second suite. So that covers purpose-built second suites at a very high level. Did I miss anything? If there's anything you can think about, please share them in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching this video. We'll be coming out with more content like this to help you with your project. So be sure to subscribe to this channel. And if you can click that like button, it would really help us out. If you don't already have a copy of our 2 free guides, the 8-point checklist and Legal Second Suites, a beginner's guide, hop on over to suiteeditions.com and download them right away to get started on creating better homes, building greater communities, and generating lasting wealth. We'll see you soon.